So I want to talk about something real quick. And I'm sure most of you guys can relate out there. If you're anything like me, then you know what it's like to not feel like you belong somewhere. And I don't just mean like, oh, you're visually an outcast. You're into like a different style and you fit a stereotype in a movie of like an alt kid or a punk kid or a goth kid or a scene kid or an emo kid or whatever or anything along those lines of just like not fitting a mold. It's more than that. It's more of like even though you don't fit the mold, even with the people who are similar to you, you still feel like you don't belong. Like, for example, I love the band Korn, okay? But I don't think I could join a Discord group that's centered around Korn, you know? I would feel like I'm invading a place I don't belong or where people don't want me. Another music example, Gorillaz. The band Gorillaz was huge for me. It still is, but like was at its peak for me in like maybe 10th grade or something like that. And I was in like I had my own deviant art group about gorillas. I ran a gorillas YouTube channel. I was in a bunch of different groups in deviant art where we were constantly chatting and drawing and having conversations about gorillas and doing stuff like that. And even in those instances, I still felt like an outcast, even though, like, even if I was the owner of the group and people were coming to me to talk about gorillas, I still felt like I shouldn't be talking to them because they're better than me, you know? And so, like, I think I feel like a poser everywhere I am. You know, I don't know enough about the thing. I don't interact with the thing enough to justify me being into it. I'm not as hardcore. Like, oh, I love horror movies. Oh, have you heard of this horror movie? I haven't. You're a piece of shit. You don't love horror movies. You know, just things like that. It's just that little like nagging voice in my head, just saying like you don't belong with the things that you enjoy, and you don't belong with the people who enjoy the thing that you enjoy. So I have a hard time allowing myself to be comfortable in a shared environment like that. So let's relate it to. There's a podcast I listen to called Monster of the Week. If you guys have seen any of my videos talking about this, you'll know that one of the hosts and the creators of the podcast, Jeremy, passed away this summer from cancer. I was a part of the Patreon for like 2 years or something, and I was a avid everyday listener of the Monster of the Week podcast, which was the Supernatural podcast. I was an avid everyday listener of the Merlin podcast, Still His Kingdom Keeps. I was listening to the Game of Thrones podcast on their Patreon, even though I've only seen like 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. I just wanted more. I wanted to, it's like listening to your friends talk about something, so I would listen to it. But even still, throughout all this, I never really engaged directly with the Discord group or with the chat and the Patreon. Now, I would occasionally send in feedback for them to review for their podcast, like talking about Merlin, the end of the show, or Supernatural season 14 or something. I would send in my feedback for them to read on the show, but that's like removed from me, that's just whatever. But as far as, since Jeremy passed away, the Discord exploded pretty heavily with people going in there, ruminating, sharing their thoughts, spilling sorrows, and coming together as a community to mull over this loss. And I was in there a little bit, and I was commenting, I was trying to engage, I was giving my condolences and expressing my own grief with that. And but even still, I always just it's so weird, because like everyone's in there doing feeling the same things, but I'm commenting and I'm just like, they don't want to hear from me, I shouldn't be here. I only should be viewing from a distance and maybe giving a thumbs up or like liking someone's comment. I shouldn't be commenting. They don't want you here. I will be providing nothing of value to this conversation, therefore I shouldn't contribute. It's really hard for me because it's like a self-fulfilling isolation type thing where it's like I feel lonely. I'm always feeling lonely. And in the places where I could get engagement, possibly make friends, um, and just like have an online community, I don't let myself get into it because I feel like I just shouldn't be there. I don't feel good enough to be there. It's stupid because like continuing off the podcast example. There are people in the Discord who listen to the podcasts that were like, "Oh, I'm 52 years old and I love listening to this," and I'm sitting here like, nobody wants to hear from me. I'm 31, but like the one of the hosts, Chris, is like 34 or something, 35. Jeremy was like 42, so it's like, but I still feel like I just I feel like an old head coming to place to be like, hello, fellow kids. I also would like to talk about supernatural. Sam Winchester is the prettiest boy of the school. Like, I just, it's stupid. And I have such like a visceral stone wall that I build around me when I try to interact and engage in communal places that I want to enjoy. But then I also feel like, oh, I don't, it comes into, I don't know enough of the lore of the podcast, which I do, but maybe I won't get this reference, or I'm just socially awkward, so I might misunderstand what somebody says, and I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to look like a fool. I don't want to sound like an idiot. Oh no, people know I write books, so anything that I write in there is like, well, this guy clearly doesn't write smart enough to be a guy who write books. You know, that his insight isn't that deep. How could his books be any good? It's literally shit like that in my head of people extrapolating what I'm writing and applying it to my overall intelligence, and me and realizing I'm not as smart maybe as somebody would have thought I was, or I'm dumber than I make myself out to be, and I don't make myself out to be smart or smarter than anybody, you know, because I don't think I am. But it's like a whole, it's just a perception thing, and it's living up to a false narrative that doesn't exist outside my own fucking head. So like when Jeremy died and I was trying to engage in there, I would comment, I would reply, I would comment, and then I would just kind of like slowly fade out of it because it's just I started like making myself feel shunned for no reason. And then it comes back to like, oh, I'm not funny enough to be having the conversations, to be making the jokes, you know. I'm not in on the Discord in jokes because everyone in there's been having their own in jokes since whatever, and I've only ever like glanced at it, and I'm not in on it, so I feel like a poser. I feel like an outcast in it, and I don't know. It's just a sense of belonging, man. Even when I'm watching my own shows or playing my own games, I stay I stay away from that specific community for all those reasons and more. And it's just frustrating because it feeds that loneliness, and I try to break that loneliness, but I can't keep up with it. I can't consistently engage, and I can't consistently apply myself in that way. And and a lot of it brings it back to it's just it's just hard keeping up socially with those things, especially with, you know, these are people that I don't know. I know a lot of them by name. I've seen their names. I've heard them referenced in the podcast. I've listened to their feedback being written in, and it's like if it always feels like there's a group of friends talking in a circle, and I come up like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And they all look at me like, "Oh God, it's this guy. Hey Chris, how you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm doing pretty good." And then I can just feel that I'm not wanted, and that's what it's like everywhere. But I'm the one making myself feel that way. Maybe because I got used to that in school or something, or maybe it's just like I miss the idea of having any type of socialization being readily available, and then like at school and at work, and then going out to seek it makes me feel just bad, feel just wrong. I don't know, man. It doesn't make sense, and it obviously it extends far beyond the podcast topic, but that's just like something that's quick and easy enough to reference, but that applies with a Reddit group, that applies with YouTube comment sections for channels I watch. There are channels that I watch that I've been watching for, fuck dude, like almost like 18 years. I've been watching some channels, and I still wouldn't feel like I belong in there because it's like that assuming I have the right to speak on a topic, and then just like I should not assume that I have any type of right or authority to speak on something, so therefore I will just keep an uncomfortable distance. uncomfortable because I'm uncomfortable, you know? I don't know, man. Does anybody else feel like that? I have so many other examples I could give, but I don't want this being a long thing. Yeah, it's a struggle. It is. It sucks. I feel like I'm just like in a box. I feel so constricted with how I'm allowed to socialize, and the parasocial nature of the internet just makes me feel more disconnected and more of a burden. And I know that all sounds kind of extreme, but that's just like the feeling in my gut. That's just how it feels. I don't know. So, if you feel this way, let me know. If you do, I'm sorry. And yeah,